Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. Today we are joined by Naomi Bell, an entrepreneur who went from being a freelancer to opening her own salon in Motor City called NRBeauty, which offers highly qualified therapists and treatments. The salon brings the world's leading brands, treatments, technologies to the region. Naomi has over 10 years experience in the industry, and we'll be discussing how she used that experience and entrepreneurial skills to grow the company, as well as developing a business strategy after the COVID pandemic. Good morning, Naomi.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So you're dressed in your attire. It's obviously a working day in the beauty salon, and you're out in Motor City. Thanks for taking the time out.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm straight back into treatments after this. So
Yeah. So tell us, tell us about your business and the journey you've been on.
So obviously it's been a hard one. We did open in February 2020. So only open for about 5 weeks, and we had to close down because of COVID. So it wasn't ideal. So it's been a tough journey, transitioning from being freelance to then opening the salon. But yeah, we made it through. We opened again in about July last year. So it's been about a year now that we've been back open. But it's good. We're offering something slightly different. Our technologies that we use in our facials are slightly different as well. We're all UK trained therapists, so we've got a lot more sort of knowledge on certain aspects of beauty, which I think has really helped us. Yeah.
Cool. So basically, can you talk us through what the salon offers, and for people who aren't familiar with it, what the scope of the services that you provide?
Okay, so we are just a beauty salon. We don't offer any hairdressing services at all. Our main focus is skincare. So our main skincare brand is Elemis, which is a British brand. On our main facials, all technology based. This includes things like oxygen therapy, light therapy, microcurrent, and things like this. We do offer everything as well, like your normal maintenance, like your nails, waxing, massage, lashes. We are basically everything beauty, but we do specialize in skincare.
Okay, interesting. What does NR stand for?
It's actually my name. My name's Naomi Rose. So
okay.
Yeah.
There we go. NRBeauty. It's a nice brand, and you have a flower rose as well as the logo. Cool. So how did you did you decide, that you wanted to own your own beauty salon, or what was the point that you kind of came up with the idea and went about this?
So I actually grew up in the Middle East. I grew up in Dubai. So I've been here for a long time, and beauty's always been my passion. I did leave. I did all my training in the UK. I worked in different things like spa hotels, salons, and I always knew that I wanted to have my own place, but it wasn't going to be easy to do that in Dubai. So I began doing freelance. I was freelance for about 5 years, and then I took the leap. I decided it was time. I had a good client base. I was working 7 days a week, 12-hour days, and I was ready for that transition into the salon.
Interesting.
So yeah, it obviously wasn't the best time when I did it.
It will be in the future. You look back and you say it was the perfect time. But yeah, obviously difficult, difficult first few months and 12 months. Interesting. You talk about the freelance there. Is that how busy one is as a freelancer in beauty in Dubai? 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, or was it you, or were you busy?
It just depends. Whereas a lot of freelancers here are part-time. They'll have a main job and then they do beauty on the side, or like hairdressing on the side. For me, I've always done beauty. I don't do anything else. So for me, it was a full-time role. It didn't obviously start full-time. It was a couple of days here and there. But again, I was offering something different, and I was very rounded. A lot of freelancers, they specialize in one thing. So I think maybe that's why that people don't work every day. But for me, because I was offering so many different treatments, I got busy very fast. So
yeah,
it was full time for me. I didn't have another income. So.
And in terms of commercial nuance and business sense, obviously as a freelancer, you have to manage your own books and finances and invoicing and things like that. So that was kind of a good schooling to kind of gear towards.
yeah, because I've got, control of everything. I had to do everything from the diary, from answering the phone, actually doing the treatments, the finances, everything. So it helped me a lot when opening. I still do a lot of it all myself now, in regards to like the admin and things, the bookings and
yeah. And when you were doing the freelance, were you were you saying that this is NRBeauty, or was it, say, Naomi on WhatsApp, or were you kind of gearing towards something more professional as you
so in the beginning it was myself. I always addressed it as Naomi, because obviously I was a person, but eventually, sort of after the first year, I turned it into NRBeauty, and then we went, and everything was always hello, welcome to NRBeauty, and I tried to transition it quite a long time ago.
Good. So it's, yeah, exactly. So you were kind of building the customer base, but just building the service level and the standards. So it kind of, even though you weren't physical, you were definitely sort of focused on making a kind of a business entity out of it.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of people, in the end, when they used to contact me, they didn't realise I was a freelancer. They did think I was a salon because I'd always been advertised as a name. That's what I wanted. I wanted a brand. I didn't want a person as such, Yeah. Because I knew I was going to have other therapists and everything in the future. So. Yeah,
interesting. It's such a interesting approach to entrepreneurship in terms of every industry, not just beauty, but anything that has a retail or physical base, that you can start like that, and you can start with digital tools and WhatsApp business, and now there's different payment gateways and things like that. So it's good to see someone who actually did that through the pandemic. Yeah, exactly. But going back a little bit on your training, so what was your courses that you studied? What's your expertise, and what are the kind of options to people who want to kind of a career in the beauty industry at the moment?
So to be honest, in Dubai, it was very hard at the time. I left school in 2012. I didn't really have any option but to go back to the UK. So I did a 2-year course. I was working alongside that as well while I was at college. I did a full beauty therapy, NVQ 2 and 3. And then I've done a lot of courses since that. So then once I was working full time, I've done like my level 4, my level 5 in skin. I've done so many courses, to be honest. I've probably done about 50 since I left college. My main NVQ was my 2 and 3. Yeah.
And what are they, for someone who doesn't know? Like what do you learn about?
So your full beauty therapy, like in your year 1 is your level 2, and you tend to do like your nails, your waxing, all your basic sort of beauty knowledge. And then your level 3, people tend to specialise. I did the holistic route. So I did more like the massage, the Indian head, hot stones, and all those kind of treatments. Whereas some people choose to go down the different route where they do like electrolysis and things like that. So in your second year, you do more of the body and the facials. Okay,
interesting. And what's happened since then? Is there more opportunities for courses like that in Dubai? Are there universities?
There is now. There is, but I don't really know anywhere that does a full. Obviously college in the UK, you'd go for 2 full years, you'd be able to get a job on the side. It's very hard in the industry here. You can't necessarily work while you're studying because you have to have so much experience to get your licensing and things here. So it's still not there. It's getting better, but I wouldn't say it was there yet.
So then to employ people in the spas and salons across Dubai, there isn't actually that many talent in the country, and a lot of people have to be kind of come in for that job. Is it hard to recruit?
It is, yeah. One of my friends actually owns a recruitment company here, but it's even hard for her because a lot of the people she has are in the UK or they're in South Africa and things like that. So a lot of them have to be flown over.
Interesting. So obviously you know the industry quite well and you've worked in it. I think sometimes people who work in it see how hard it is and then don't believe maybe that they can do just what other people are doing, which might be the obvious business, the kind of traditional tried and tested business model. Why did you choose a bricks and mortar clinic versus the other trends in the industry, which might be digital or might be e-commerce or might be other things? What was your sort of decision process around that?
For me, it's what I've always known. It's how I've always done it. So I didn't want to change that, But there's a lot of people doing it in different ways and, having different types of treatments and things like that. But for me, this is what I know. And that's why I stuck with what I knew.
Okay, interesting. And then setting up the business itself in terms of licensing and the location in Motor City, how did you kind of go about that? And did you?
And so I actually grew up in Arabian ranches. So I spent about 12 years in the, so in this area. I actually live in Mira myself, so a lot of my clients were over this way. So for me, it made sense. I didn't feel like there was anyone here in this area necessarily doing what we're doing. There's a lot of salons in JLT, the Marina, on the Palm and things like that, but I didn't feel like this side of Dubai had what we could offer. And that's why I chose this. The licensing was a difficult one, but I got a good PRO that helped me with all that. So.
Yeah, exactly. What license do you need to get for Motor City? Is it which?
So we're Dubai mainland.
Okay, it's just mainland. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's a physical store as well. Yeah, interesting. And yeah, and then how did you go about? Well, first of all, how would you know that the demand is there for the type of service that you're doing? Yeah, like how have people's behaviors and trends, like how people change what sort of beauty services that they want?
I think, obviously because I was working in this area already, I knew where the demand was and what the people were looking for. Maybe there was a bit of a gap in the market on this side of Dubai with things like, say microdermabrasion or dermaplaning, like these types of facials that no one else was really doing in this area. And they were the questions I was getting asked, all the time. So that's why I knew it was a good location for that. Trend-wise, it's also the communities. You have a lot of school mums around here, and they're the ones that are wanting these treatments. They'll try new things. And we did a lot of research on how many people were here, different nationalities, and things like that as well.
Interesting. And also, you talked to therapists as well. Sort of, what is the sort of, what do you need to run a salon? How many therapists do you need? What sort of qualifications do they need?
Yes, all our therapists we've got at the moment, they've all got UK qualifications because that's what I know. It's what I'm familiar with. I know they've been trained to a certain, to the same standard I was, like at least the basic knowledge. And I feel like if I know how they've started, it's much easier for me to help them grow. There's a lot of different, places that you can train. You can do like a 3-month course and things like that. But for me, a full 2-year, NBQ or iTech is what I think people need as a good basis. Because if they've managed to get themselves through that and not given up, then they're gonna, they've got the basics there.
That's interesting as well, because I think like in industries, someone explained to me the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist, and it's many people kind of debate whether university and degrees are worthwhile, but it's, as you described it, it's that ability to stick with something for a few years and not say, oh, I like this trend, I'm going to be a beautician for a week or whatever, or PT for a week. It's not actually, there's not as much substance to it. So I think that you identify that in the people you bring on board is important.
Yeah, because if someone does a 3-month course, it might sound all nice and rosy and it's not hard work. But if you've stuck at it for 2 years, you realise it's quite an intense job. It's like a manual labour job. And I don't think you can figure that out in 3 months. I think you need a good amount of time training to understand that.
Yeah, and then other as well, just sticking on the kind of the business setups and structure. So I've been inside. I've had some fancy facials in Dubai. I've been to lots of nice spa places and things like that. And I've seen the expensive equipment and the different types of laser machines. I'm thinking of one in particular. How much of investment is needed? Do you have to buy the best machinery and devices?
Yeah, so for our facials, we use Elemis, and the Elemis Biotech machine has 5 different technologies on it. We've got 2 of those machines in the salon downstairs. We're actually the only salon to have 2 of them at the moment in the GCC. But yeah, it's a big investment to start out with. They're around, let's say, 45,000, for example, for a machine like that.
Dollars or dirhams?
Dirhams, yeah.
Okay.
But just like a standard facial machine. There's obviously a lot of more machines that are more expensive as well, but they do different things, like your laser facials and things like that.
Yeah.
So the investment is quite high to begin with, but it's worth it because you can always change, and there's so many things you can offer with these machines. You're not just offering one thing. So
yeah, definitely, that's interesting, especially if there's 5 different types of things as well. And is it like, do you once you have more demand, do you get another machine? Is it like another seat, and then more? Do you kind of grow with
Exactly.
demand? Yeah.
Exactly, because obviously in the beginning we had one, for example, and if there's three of us full time downstairs and we've got someone part time, so there's four therapists,
Mm.
but there's only one machine. So at the time we could only offer one biotech facial at a time, which is why then we had two, because now we've got two bigger rooms and we've got two machines. So obviously as we grow, we'll need more.
Were there any sort of digital things that you set up at the start in terms of booking software, scheduling software, appointments and things like that? Is there anything that
Yeah,
you kind of...
actually, I started using a company called Fresher. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
started that when I was at home, and it was the same system that I've transferred across.
Okay.
So my clients already knew what it was. They knew they get the text messages. So then when it came to the point where they have to put their card details on and things like that for security,
Yeah.
they already trusted the software because I'd used it for 3 years. So
That's great.
yeah,
I,
that really helped.
yeah, they're good guys. They're good kind of Dubai based as well, startup company, and it's great to see that all the different kind of beauty salons and different services have got a good local tech stock partner as well to kind of
Definitely.
help with that. And in terms of payments and things like that, did you have which platform did you choose? Which kind of payment gateway did you choose? Or
Actually, in the beginning, with COVID and everything, we stopped accepting cash. So we had to use Fresher. So in the beginning, we were just using Fresher Pay, and people were it's an online system done through the US, similar to PayPal, and that's how we did it. And then we now have a card machine, so everything is just done on the card machine now.
interesting.
Um,
And then so in what did you kind of alluded to at the start, but what did you have to change in terms of guidelines and practice when the pandemic started? And
Obviously, because we're so close to people, and most of the things we do, people don't have a mask on. So like all the girls and myself, we still have our masks, we wear shields, the rooms are completely fogged between each client. The thing is, in the salon anyway, hygiene was very high, you know what I mean? Before that, we always cleaned everything, changed the towels. So it wasn't too much of a big change. It was just making sure the little things that maybe would get missed when you were busy were always done. So at the moment now, we're still, like I said, we've still got our shields on, so we're still very protected as therapists, to protect the clients. So.
And did you find that people were afraid to go back at the start, and how was that sort of process?
In the beginning, we had a lot of anxious clients. It was tough. People were coming in and they didn't want to take their mask off, but they'd come in for a facial, and obviously they have to have it off. And it took, I think, a few months. I'd probably say 3 months before people started to relax. The good thing is a lot of my clients had already had them for 5 years, so they knew me. They knew, that obviously I was going to be very important with the hygiene. Hygiene was a big thing for me to make people feel comfortable.
Interesting, excellent. And so obviously those customers kind of came with you. Was there word of mouth, or did you find there was other ways to sort of reach customers and get the word out there and do marketing?
Yeah, so to be honest, when I was freelance, it was all just word of mouth. Even with the salon now, we've only just really started doing a lot of advertising, to try and get people to understand where we are. The location is different. I'm not freelance anymore, even though, but yeah, it was all word of mouth in the beginning. I had a small client base, and then it grew from there.
Interesting. And so the opening hours, to be kind of flexible for people, like, what are your opening hours?
So we're open sort of like 9 till 8. We're currently open 6 days a week. We will be opening on Fridays from next week as well.
Wow,
So,
full on. Lots of
yeah.
But we kind of discussed offline as well there, like it just seemed like a really good area, kind of an upcoming area, and obviously Dubai is expanding and moving outwards as well. It's just, even from when you grew up, it must have changed a lot around there.
Oh, it has, yeah. I mean, obviously Motor City, when it was originally built, it was somewhere that was meant to be like it is now, but it never ever grew, and it sort of stopped. Spinney's was there and that was it. But over the past sort of 5 years especially, it's really growing. There's so many different communities here now that it's always busy. Whenever you're driving through, it's such a busy place, which is why I chose it, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's a good location.
Good in catchment area, and people are, I something. We're moving office eventually out of JLT, and I was. I hope my dentist isn't listening to this, but I was thinking, I used to go to the dentist in JLT for the last 4 or 5 years, and I was thinking, there must be one out near Production City, Motor City. So I think people will start thinking of services near them as well, and start looking for it like that as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of new hairdressers and things around here as well, and people are definitely starting to, instead of going all the way to the marina or Business Bay for things, they're definitely keeping it closer to home, I think now.
Yeah, super interesting. But so how kind of broad question, but how competitive is it? Like how, you know, when people say they're going to set up a restaurant in Dubai, people sort of know how competitive it is. They know how many burger places there are. So how competitive is it in terms of beauty salons?
Huge. There's huge competition here. Obviously, back home you'd only have one or two salons to choose from, for example. You'd have your local hairdressers, your local beauty salon. Here, even on the street there could be 20, 30 salons. It's a very big industry in the Middle East, but you just have to be different. You have to stand out. You have to offer different things and not follow the crowd as such. A lot of places offer your same treatments, which is why we're trying to be different. We're trying to give people a different experience, bring different knowledge to the industry as well.
Yeah, and so the before sort of different trends and before before people start using beauty services that wouldn't use before, obviously females and males would do facials and manicures and pedicures and different types of services. But do you think that in this region that it's even more dialed up, or more money is spent from a service point of view in this area?
So, yeah, I think a lot of people have got a more disposable income for things like beauty treatments, for looking after themselves. And I think people are also more willing to try new things because there's so many options. They can hear about 10 different treatments on a daily basis that they want to try, and they want to know which one's the best one. Whereas I think in other places, like especially back home in the UK, if you've only got one salon, you only learn about what they're offering. You don't learn about all these different competitors and what they're bringing to the market as well. So I think people are definitely more willing to try new things because they can hear about all these different options. So yeah, I think it's definitely a sort of industry that's developing a lot faster, I think, in the Middle East than a lot of other places.
But also, do you think that, obviously, hair salons are, the frequency would be quite similar in different countries of how frequently people would get their hair done, and depending on surplus income and things like that. But do you think, certainly my observation, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the frequency of nails being done and things like that is more here and in this region than in the UK and Ireland?
Yeah, I think a lot of it as well is our lifestyle, for women, say at home, there's a big portion where it's winter and you wouldn't have, say, for example, your toes out. They'd always be in boots, whereas here, because of the climate, people are out a lot more, they're always around the pool and things. So like nails and all these maintenance treatments, waxing, it has to be done more frequently.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a good.
People are more conscious of that, I think, as well. So
yeah, and it becomes more of a behavior. It becomes like a weekly thing, exactly. and that's really interesting. So do you cater to that? Do you have kind of packages, like almost like subscription? Do you have, or do you just kind of weekly?
We do have facial packages. So we have different courses. It's either 6 facials or 10 facials. People can sign up to. They can have them weekly. They could have them monthly. And we sort of cater it for them. Yes, we do have different packages. We have packages for like reflexology, for example, and things like that as well.
Interesting. Yeah, because, the reason I kind of asked that line of question is because recently on the podcast, we've had people who've set up e-commerce beauty companies, and a lot of their reasoning for doing this is they talk about the kind of big figures of total spend per person per capita in the region on beauty, and it's often associated with products and often associated with products like that you would do at home, etc. But not many people see it in the way that you're doing it, which is services and beauty salons and things like that. But do you think that both are an opportunity, and would you some of the products that you bring in, do you sell them separately, and do you look at the kind of products?
So we do sell all our products as well that we offer in the treatments. We sell all our LMS range, and we have things like Olaplex. We do sell all the products as well. I think it's a massive industry here for the beauty products. People seem to have 20 different facial items they use.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean they know how to use them. And that's where we're trying to fill that gap, and we're trying to educate people on how to use those products they're spending all this money on as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot more knowledge for that needs to needs to happen as well.
How are you going about that? Are you kind of doing it on a customer basis, or do you have different types of online information and things like that?
So everything that we do product wise is always customized. Everyone's skin is so different, their lifestyle is different, you know, and that's what we like to focus on. Even our facials, everything is customized to each individual. I'm not really someone that believes that if something, you know, there's a new product out, it's going to work for you and you know, everything is very different. So what works for one person is not always going to work for someone else. So yeah, I'm always very focused on customizing.
And you know, the core products that you have is related to that company Elementis that you have the machine for. But do you look at other products that aren't necessarily in the region?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'd always recommend, say if someone comes to us and they don't even have a routine, I'd always recommend something very affordable to start with. Before you recommend these bigger brands, because if you don't have a basic routine, there's no point investing in the bigger brands, you know, until you've got your, and people then gain your trust from that, you know, they see this, you know, the small changes these first products are doing, and then they'll develop that relationship after that.
And are people more interested in different types of products now that are organic or clean beauty and things like that? And do you get requests like that?
Yeah, we do a lot. Yeah, we get always asked about like vegan lines and things like that, and people are definitely more interested where their products are coming from, where the ingredients are coming from.
Interesting. How do you kind of stay on top of all that? How do you kind of source the new products, and where do you kind of, what countries do you get them from?
So all our products actually come from the UK at the moment. You know, the brands themselves are very good, I think, now staying on top of the market and staying on top of the game. There's always new releases. The reason I actually chose Elemis as a brand to use is because they control a lot of where their ingredients come from. So for example, the type of rose that goes into an oil, you know, they've got a farm, and it's a little farm in the UK that, you know, it's the only people that grow that for them, and things like that. So they always make sure they know where their ingredients are coming from. So then for us, when we're telling customers, I can, you know, guarantee that I know where that product's come from.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the big, you know, some of these big brands, you just don't know where the ingredients are coming from.
Yeah,
so it's not easy.
Exactly, it's very commercial, and it's sort of, and they were created at a time where people weren't as environmentally conscious.
Exactly, yeah.
So even if they wanted to change, or if their marketing changes, the original product mightn't have been from the kind of roots.
Exactly.
It's interesting. So just more particularly around beauty routines and sort of behaviors. What do you kind of, what's the normal frequency for, say, facials, if we're talking about skincare, that people would come to your clinic and then your salon, and then also what's the typical routine that one would have? You know, do they use 3 different products in an evening and again 3 different products in the morning, or what do you kind of observe from your customers?
Like for facial wise, I mean, most of our customers come once every 4 to 6 weeks. Because a lot of our facials, you know, they include very deep exfoliations. They can only have that once a month, for example. We have some ladies that are on courses for anti-aging and they have to come more frequently. But I'd say, you know, on average, it's normally once every 4 to 6 weeks. Then for their home care, you know, it completely differs. I mean, if someone doesn't have a routine, I'd normally start them with maybe 2 or 3 products in the morning and evening to not overwhelm them. But, you know, your clients that have sort of, you know, they've got all these products, they've invested in it all. They could use up to 6 products in the morning, 6 in the evening. It completely depends.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm someone that I believe don't use too much. I think we can use too much on the skin as well. So I like to sort of, I think balance is good, but if someone's got them and they want to use them, you have to advise them how to.
So generally for the uninitiated, what do you think the skin needs on a daily basis, you know, particularly in Dubai? Do you think,
especially in Dubai, I think we have to, you know, cleansing is obviously the most important. There's a lot of pollution here, there's a lot of dust in the air. So cleansing is definitely the number one. Toning, you know, toning is important, but I prefer toning like a natural rose water, you know, one that you'd cook with, something that you'd ingest yourself. This is very good for like the hydration on the skin. And then moisturising. Moisturising is so important. It's one of them things that people go, my skin's oily, I never moisturise. Even oily skin needs to be moisturised in this heat. You know, dehydrated skin's going to age faster. And unfortunately, because of the AC and the heat here, everyone is dehydrated, whether they're oily or not.
That's interesting. So you kind of recommend those as a core basis twice a day at least. Yeah, and then a facial
at the very least.
once a month. Okay, cool, noted. Brilliant. So I'm actually going on a podcast later today with a friend who's setting up skincare for men, and he's really passionate about it, and it's kind of more of an e-commerce platform. But they came around to my apartment a few days ago to do a shoot in the morning, and I do the normal, like I use, products that I pick up in the airport, and I kind of just don't really know what I'm doing, sort of thing, but know it's important. And but what he brought over a few products, and I was just amazed with the detail, the expense of them. Like one of them has I think I might have the wrong word, but has the I think retinol or that alcohol type sense. And it created a sensation on the face, and he explained what that does and how they how they made that proprietary and things like that. So it's a really kind of deep level, you can really kind of learn a lot about it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of science behind skincare now. It's not just slapping on a few things. There's so many different acids and things we can now use on the skin, which 10 years ago you wouldn't have access to as a home care routine. You would never have had access to different acids and hyaluronic acid and vitamin C's and things like that. Whereas now you can buy these and use them at home. Crazy.
How would one use vitamin C? Is that part of the kind of cream, or is that how you apply it?
Yeah, so vitamin C, there's a big debate on this, to be honest. I always tell my clients just to use it in the evening. There's probably going to be hundreds of people that listen to this and say use it in the morning. For me, vitamin C is very active on the skin. People tend to use it for things like pigmentation, for brightening the skin, for overall skin health as well. I say in the evening because it reacts with the sun. And if you're putting something on the skin that reacts with the sun and you're trying to use it for pigmentation, to me it doesn't make sense to wear it through the day. There's plenty of people that will disagree. So.
Yeah, interesting. But when everyone's skin is different and everyone's routine should be different. So how do people go about knowing what skin they have, or would they obviously speak to one of your therapists, and they would say?
Yeah, so for us, we tend to always invite people in for a skin consultation to begin with. A lot of people will message the phone and they'll say, "Can I book for this facial?" And a lot of the time we'll say, "We'll come in first. We'll have a look at your skin." And we have to understand what they're putting on their skin every day. For some people, the products they're using are already too harsh. It's the wrong products. So we need to understand their skin before we go and say you can have this facial, that facial. We like to take our time and actually understand what they're doing and what they've had before in order to help them more.
Okay, so some of the things that you would tell them is whether they've got dry skin or oily skin, and the type of things that they should be doing in the future. And
the first thing I always ask is, what is their concerns? Because for me to look at someone's skin, I might notice something, but it might not even be a concern of theirs. Someone might come to you and you might see, so they've got a lot of breakouts, but their concern is their fine lines around their eyes. So I always like to understand what their concern is before I say anything, before I tell them what I think. Because you have to understand what is bothering them.
Interesting. And again, you're doing it more in person, and you're and I guess that's it's the opposite to this world of digital. It's more of a personal touch, but maybe with skin that we can't really digitize skin because we're not avatars.
During COVID, a lot of people were doing online consultations and things like this, but for me, I'm very hands-on. I like to touch the skin in order to understand it a lot more, and it's just a personal preference. So
yeah. I think it's good. It's important. I think customers see that and they notice that. I think if someone is passionate about a topic or an industry, if you go for a service, whether anything to do with skincare, hair care, or physio or anything, and if the practitioner is talking to you about the football or gossip or things like that, or when are you going on your holiday, or if they're really trying to understand why you're there, then you have more trust in them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's about. We want our clients to come back. We don't want them to come once and not come back again. So it's developing those relationships and the trust. And the more they trust you, the more they're going to want to try new things. And when we bring new technologies and new treatments, they're going to be willing to try them. So.
Okay, interesting. Learning a lot here, Naomi. Thank you very much. So just kind of moving on to other topics. But basically, what's your view of business in general? Like if irrespective of beauty, what's your kind of philosophies and principles on business, and how do you approach it?
For me, I just believe I've always been someone who you have to have a passion for what you're doing. I think it's okay having all the money in the world, but if you're not passionate about what you're doing, whether it's beauty, whether it's, automotive, anything, I just feel like it's then very hard to keep your heart in it, especially through things like COVID. I think it definitely made people realize they were maybe in jobs they didn't love, they had businesses they didn't want to carry on. And I think for me, that's the number one thing, if I ever fell out of love with what I was doing, I'd have to question what I was doing every day.
Interesting. But you could do that, and you could work at you could be passionate about what you do and work for someone else. What's your kind of view on entrepreneurship in terms of, do you think that this is a vocation, a purpose, a mission to kind of create something meaningful over a long time? Or
I've worked for people in the beauty industry. I've worked in hotels, I've worked in different salons, and for me, I felt like I didn't have the voice that I wanted. I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge to share and just a different view on the industry, and that's what drives me. I feel like if you've got something to tell people and something to show, just go for it.
Brilliant. Cool. And what about sort of Dubai? You know it more than most, having spent most of your life here. What's your kind of view on Dubai in terms of business capital?
It's a hard place. It's not easy. I don't think anyone can just come here and open a business. I think it takes a lot, even down to the licensing, your sponsors and things like this. There's a lot that goes into it here. They don't make it easy. And I think COVID showed a lot of us that, we had a lot of bills to pay. We didn't have any income. It wasn't like back home where you got a lot of support. So there's definitely not the support here. I think that maybe there could be. So I think people that do it, I think they've taken a lot of time and thought to do it.
I think people will empathize and recognize that there are definitely startup challenges, and there's sort of admin, and you feel like you have to do everything yourself and that sort of stuff. But is there the opportunity or the flip side to that? Like, although it's competitive, it's still potentially a really growing economy, and to do what you're doing.
100%. Just like we were talking about before, the fact that people use beauty a lot more here. They've got routines where they're having things done more frequently. The opportunity to grow here, I think, is a lot higher than other places, even though there is that competition. I feel like if you do the right thing, and even not just in beauty, in anything, I think if you've got a niche and you've got the right thing, Dubai is a very good place to grow.
And is that where your focus will remain, in Dubai for now, or do you kind of look at the region, or do you look at other opportunities, or maybe Abu Dhabi, or do you kind of say, hey, this is what I'm doing now?
So I think for now, Dubai is where we need to grow, where we need to, we're still a very young business. Even though I've been open and I was freelance, as a salon, we're still very young, So I think once people trust us and things like that, then you can move into Abu Dhabi, you can go to Saudi, but I think if those places have to see it work in Dubai first, and then they're going to trust you when you move to the different locations.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we saw 3 new highways announced recently, and the population numbers are going up. I read somewhere that it's 4.4 million during the day in Dubai now. That 3.4, I think, total. That's a lot more than when you were growing up here, right? But it's amazing. Yeah.
It is. I've seen the country grow, I used to live in Sharjah and did a lot of my schooling in Sharjah because Dubai wasn't here. Dubai was like Whopper City and Deira and things like that. None of this existed.
Yeah.
It was just sand and camels. So it's definitely growing.
So in sort of 5-10 years time, what would your hopes be for NRBeauty?
Hopefully have a few more branches, maybe in Abu Dhabi, Saudi, places like this. I definitely love to explore training and bring that to the, to Dubai and to the Middle East. I feel like it was something that growing up, I had to leave my family, I had to leave my home because I couldn't do what I wanted to do here.
Interesting.
And like I said, there is places now offering that training, but I feel like it could still be better. There could still be more opportunity for people. So I'd love to look into that.
But do you think, I didn't mean that in a leading way in terms of that the future needs to be bigger or better, like in terms of if someone sets up a salon in Dubai, can they have a sustainable business from a salon, and can it be sort of a meaningful lifestyle business as well.
Yeah, 100%. If it's done correctly and you know it's done right, you've got the right clientele, and you know people trust you. 100%.
Brilliant.
You don't need to have 20 locations. I think it can definitely be done with one. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll leave it at that. I think I trust you enough to recommend that my mum pays NRBeauty a visit in the near future. But thank you very much, Naomi.
No, thank you for having me.
For the time this morning. And yeah, we'll follow you online, and we'll look forward to seeing the growth of NRBeauty.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.